Hello, friends. My name is Michelle.
And my name is Joe.
We work at Safe Birds. In our first class, we talked about asking for help in touching. We learned that sometimes we like touching and sometimes we don't. We also learned that touching is never a secret. Today, we're going to talk about asking for permission before we touch someone.
It is important to ask for permission before we touch someone. We don't touch someone if they say no touching. What are some ways that you remember that we can ask for permission?
You might say, "Can I give you a hug?" Or maybe, "Would it be okay if I sat on your lap?" "Is it okay if I hold your hand?" I think that we should practice some of these questions. So I'll say it one time, and then we'll all say it together, and then I'll give you a try to say it all on your own.
I'll start. So I'm going to ask, can I give you a hug? Say it with me. Can I give you a hug? Now it's your turn. Great job.
Awesome. So we'll try another question. So I'll go first. Would it be okay if I sat on your lap? So now say it with me. Would it be okay?
Would it be okay
if I
sat on your lap?
Now it's your turn. Great job. That was so good.
Okay, my turn. My question is it okay with you if I hold your hand? Say it with me. Is it okay if I hold your hand? Now it's your turn. Terrific.
Sometimes people don't like to be touched, and that's okay. If someone says no or no thank you when we ask for permission, it's really, really important that we listen to them and we don't touch them.
And now I'm going to read a book about hugging, and then we'll do an activity to practice asking for permission. So the story that I'm going to read is called Hugopotamus. Well, my friend Michelle, can you see what's on the cover?
I'm pretty sure I see a hippopotamus on the cover.
Yes, and he looks pretty big. What do you notice about his arms?
They're open this wide.
They are. And if you look at his feet, you can see that it looks like he's running. What do you think he's going to do?
Maybe he's running to hug his best friend.
That's what I think. How would you feel if someone very big and strong came running up to give you a hug?
I think I might be a little scared, especially if I didn't know them.
Yes, it would be scary to have someone bigger and stronger to run towards us for a hug. But let's read the story and see what happens. Hugopotamus, written by Steve Metzger, illustrated by Gabriel Antonini, and published by Scholastic, Inc. in 2011. Albert was his parents' pride and joy. When he smiled for the first time, his mother jumped up and down with delight. "Look at our baby!" she cried out. "Isn't he wonderful?" Whether Albert was taking his first steps or learning his ABCs, or even when he was doing nothing at all, they couldn't help but hug their one and only hippo. "Why do you hug me all the time?" Albert asked. "Because we love you so much," his father replied. "You're our little hugopotamus." Albert smiled. A hug shows that you care about someone, he thought as he went out to play. Waddling through the dense jungle, Albert spotted Benny. He quietly tiptoed up behind his friend and gave him a super strong hippo hug. Yow, Benny roared. What are you doing? Hugging you, Albert replied. Don't you like hugs? Not when they're so strong, Benny said. I'm playing hide and seek and you gave away my hiding place. I'm sorry, said Albert. Can I play with you? No, Benny said as he slid back into the bushes. Albert spotted Jasmine jumping rope by a waterfall. He ran up and gave her a squeeze. Ouch, said Jasmine. What are you doing? Hugging you, Albert replied. Don't you like hugs? Not now, said Jasmine. I wasn't ready. Just look at me. I'm sorry, Albert said. Can I play with you? No, said Jasmine as she untangled herself. Albert plodded over to the savannah. Badge was just about to score a goal. I love you, little monkey, Albert shouted. Ag! Badge exclaimed. What are you doing? Hugging you, Albert replied. Don't you like hugs? You made me miss my shot, Badge yelled. You're just too rough. I'm sorry, Albert said. Can I play with you? No, said Badge as he dashed after the ball. Albert slumped down in the shade of a baobab tree. I was only trying to show my friends how much I care about them, Albert thought. Now nobody wants to play with me. Albert watched as Benny, Jasmine, and Badge began a game of freeze tag. I wish I could play too, he said, but nobody wants a clumsy hippo in their game. Then Albert looked up and saw that Benny had been tagged. He was frozen in place. Benny needs my help, Albert said. He barreled toward his friend, rushing faster and faster. I'm coming! Albert ran so hard the earth trembled. He ran so hard the trees shook. He ran so hard his friends stopped playing. Uh-oh, Benny thought. Not again. But Albert remembered what his friends said about his hugs. Too strong. Not now. Too rough. He slowed down and skidded to a stop just before he reached Benny. Can I play with you? Albert said in a calm voice. I won't hug you unless you want me to. And I promise not to be so rough. Sure, Benny said, and letting out a deep sigh. You're it. How do you think the hippo felt here, my friend Michelle?
I think that Albert probably felt excited because he was allowed to play with his friends.
I agree. You can see by the big smile in his face that he looks happy. He was sad before, but now he remembered all his lessons and he feels happy. Let's finish this out. When the game ended, Benny, Jasmine, and Badge huddled together. "What's the matter?" Albert asked. "Did I do something wrong?" "No," said Jasmine. "We're proud of you. Now we want to give you a hug. Is that okay?" Albert nodded and smiled shyly as they wrapped their arms around him. Not too strong, not too rough, the perfect hug for a hugopotamus. Albert realized that his friends didn't always want to be hugged, but he learned to ask them for permission. Now we're going to practice for permission by making paper high fives.
For this next activity, we're going to make paper high fives that will end up looking like this. For this activity, you're going to need a piece of paper. It can be any color. Mine just happens to be yellow. Something to write with. That could be a pencil, a pen. I have a magic marker. And a pair of scissors to cut it out with. So go ahead and grab those supplies and we're going to jump right into making our paper high fives. Now that we have all of our supplies together, we're going to start by stretching out one of our hands like this. And you're going to take your piece of paper and what you're going to do is put your hand on it and set it down on your desk. Now that you have it like that, what you're going to do is you're going to trace your hand using your pen, your pencil. I'm going to use my marker to trace my hand. Now, this might be kind of hard to do. Who could you ask for help to trace your hand? That's right. You could ask your mommy or your daddy or your babysitter, maybe an older sibling or a friend that's watching this with you for help. You could ask for help by saying, "Could you please help me trace my hand?" So I'm going to give you guys all a second to go ahead and trace your hands. Great job. So now here's what mine looks like. Now this doesn't really look like it's gonna make a very good high five yet. So the next thing we have to do is cut it out. That's right. Now, if you need help cutting out your hand, who could you ask for help? That's right. You could ask your mom or your dad or your grandma or your grandpa or your babysitter, your older brother or sister, or maybe even a friend to help you cut it out. You could ask for help by saying, "Could you please help me cut out my paper hand?" Awesome job. Here's my paper hand. Now what I want you to do is to practice asking for permission to get a high five. Now today, we're not going to give high fives using our hands, but rather using our paper hands. When we ask for permission, we need to listen to the answer that the other person tells us. Because if they say no, or no thank you, or not right now, that means that we can't give them a high five at the moment. They must say that yes, we can, or I would love to, or that you're allowed to, so that we have permission to give them a high five. So, I might say, hey, could I have a high five? And, they might say, sure, and then we can have a high five. Or they might say, no, thank you. I don't want a high five. And that means we can't high five. When somebody says no, that's okay, because we need to remember that you always need to have permission before you can touch somebody. So, now I want you to take your high fives with whoever you're with and practice asking for permission by saying something like, may I have a high five, please? Or can I give you a high five? But also make sure that we're listening to the answer that the person we're with gives us. If they say no, we cannot give them a high five. That means they don't want one. Great job. It always feels good to ask for permission.
Today, we talked about asking for permission before we touch someone, and we made our own paper high fives to practice. Sometimes we like to be touched, and sometimes we don't, and that's okay. It's important to ask for permission before we touch someone, and we never touch someone when they say no touching. Touching is never a secret.
Before we go today, I have a short video with my friend Anne, which will go over everything we learned the last few days.
Hi, my name is Anne. Every day I've been doing these activities at home with my parents and my baby brother. Let's recap what we've learned this week. Earlier this week, we talked about our feelings. We can have many feelings. We might feel happy, sad, mad, scared, surprised, mixed up, or confused. What can we do when we have a feeling that we don't know what to do with it? That's right, we can ask an adult. We also talked about our bodies. We learned the name of many body parts and which parts we keep covered with clothes because they are private. Those private parts are our penises, vaginas, and buttocks. We learned that some places are public. Public places are where everyone can go, like the school, the library, or the grocery store. We also learned about private places. This is a place where not everyone can go, like your bathroom or your bedroom in your house. We can ask an adult if someone does not know the difference between public and private places. Another time we talked about babies. We learned that babies need help with most things and deserve to be looked after. We can help adults care for babies, and if we don't know what to do or how to do it, we can ask an adult. Do you remember what some things are that you can do that babies can't do? That's right. You are all learning important things as you grow. Some kids still need help wiping and washing their private parts, and that's okay. Adults and older children do not need help from children with their private parts. We also learned some important things about touching other people. What should we do before we touch someone? Yes, we should ask before we touch someone. If they say no, we shouldn't touch them. What could we do if we have a question about touching? Yes, we could ask for help. Some kids feel comfortable asking for help, and some kids don't. It's okay if you don't feel comfortable. It seems like every lesson we learned about asking for help. We have learned so many new things together. But I've got to go. Bye.
Wow, Anne really learned a lot this week. I hope that you did too. You guys all did a great job. Thank you so much for watching us. I know I, and I'm sure Joe is too, is so proud of you right now.